The first tomato hit the pavement with a wet, obscene splat. Then a zucchini. Then a cascade of heirloom peppers, their vibrant reds and oranges bleeding into the dust of the driveway that separated my property from H.A. Risen Coles. That H.A. Risen stood on the boundary line. His face the color of overripe beets. His hands still gripping the handles of the wheelbarrow he had just overturned. My wheelbarrow, filled with my produce, the fruits of 3 months of dawn-to-dusk labor, now a ruin of pulp and seeds at my feet. You think you can just grow this garbage and let the smell drift over to my house? H.A. Risen's voice seared right across the cul-de-sac. A performance for the half-dozen neighbors who had materialized on their porches, coffee mugs in hand, eyes wide. You think I'm going to let my property values tank because you want to play F.A. Romero? I did not speak. My hands remained at my sides. My face, I knew, was a mask of stone. Inside, the machinery of my memory was already cataloging every detail. The blue of his polo shirt, stretched tight over his paunch. The flecks of spit that gathered at the corners of his mouth. The way his daughter, Megan, stood behind him in the doorway of his pristine, beige colonial, her RMS crossed, her expression one of bored contempt. Look at you, H.A. Risen continued, his volume climbing. He gestured at my house, a modest ranch that I had purposely kept unassuming. You move into this neighborhood 5 years ago. Keep to yourself. Don't join the HOA. Don't contribute to the block parties. And now you're growing this jungle. He kicked at a stray cucumber, sending it rolling towa RD the storm drain. It's an eyesore. It's a health hazard. And you ungrateful little hermit, you have the nerve to let your weeds cross the property line. The weeds. He was referring to a single tomato vine that had, in a moment of wind, bent 2 inches over the invisible border. I had corrected it that same afternoon. H.A. Risen had been waiting for an excuse. I saw you, H.A. Risen said, stepping closer. He was a big man, broad-shouldered, the kind of man who had coasted through life on his size. I saw you looking at my garden, my wife's petunias. You were jealous. You couldn't stand that someone had something better than you, so you tried to sabotage us. I saw Megan shift her weight. She was scrolling through her phone, disinterested. She had her father's arrogance but none of his bluster. She was calculating. She had Leah Rened from the best. You owe me, H.A. Risen Declare read. You owe me for the mental anguish. You owe me for the devaluation. I want an apology. Right now. In front of everyone. A low murmur rippled through the spectators. Mrs. Gable from across the street, her hand over her mouth. Mr. P.A.R.K. next door, shaking his head. They were waiting. They had seen me alone. Seen me work my land in silence. Seen me refuse their invitations to barbecues and holiday parties. They had assumed I was odd, reclusive, possibly unstable. They were waiting for me to crack. I looked at the mess on the ground. The tomatoes I had nurtured from seeds. The peppers I had cross-pollinated by hand. The zucchinis that had grown fat and heavy under the summer sun. All of it gone. Wasted. My gaze lifted to H.A. Risen's face. His nostrils were FLA red. He was breathing hard. He was enjoying this. This was his moment, his triumph, his validation that the quiet man next door was, indeed, nothing. I took a slow, deliberate breath. My voice, when it came, was low. Ba rely above a whisper. But it cut through the morning air with the precision of a surgical scalpel. Mr. Cole, I said, you have made a mistake. He laughed. A short, Sha RPBARK. A mistake is that a threat you threatening me you he are that. Everyone the recluse is threatening me. Megan finally looked up from her phone. She smirked. Dad, just call the cops. He's not worth the breath. But I was not looking at Megan. I was looking at H.A. Risen. I was remembering a conversation I had over here RD 3 nights ago, through the thin walls of our Shaw red fence line. H.A. Risen on the phone, loud and drunk. She's got the interview next week, he had slurred. It's in the bag. Her uncle knows the CEO or something. My little girl, a big shot in corporate. It's all about who you know, right? I had not read then. It was just noise. But now, with the pulp of my peppers drying on the asphalt and my neighbor's judgmental silence pressing down on me. I let the memory surface and bloom. "Your daughter?" I said, my voice still quiet. "Megan. She has an interview next week. A significant opportunity." H.A. Risen's face went through a rapid series of micro-expressions. Confusion, then a flicker of unease, then contempt again, layered on thicker. "So what, you think you can threaten my daughter's CA rear? You think you know anyone at that company? You're a GA redenner. You pathetic?" "I know the CEO," I said, that the words hung in the air. H.A. Risen's mouth opened, then closed. A vein in his temple began to throb visibly. "You're lying." "I don't lie," I said. "I simply wait." Megan stepped forward now, her phone lowered. Her smirk had vanished, replaced by something sharper. "He's bluffing, Dad. He's just trying to get under your skin." We checked. The CEO is some tech billionaire who doesn't even live in this state. "There's no way this guy." "The CEO's name," I interrupted, "is Julian Voss. He is a man who values discretion. He is also a man who, 4 years ago, was stranded in a blizzard in the Rockies. His CAR had skidded off a mountain road. He had no cell service. He had no food. He was, in his own words, hours from death." Megan's face had gone pale. H.A. Risen was watching her, a slow dawning horror creeping into his eyes. "I found him," I said. "I was on a solo hiking trip. I have a cabin there. Remote. No electricity. No plumbing. I took him in. I fed him. I met him. I stayed with him for 3 days until the storm passed. He offered me a Reva road. I refused. He asked what he could do. I told him, nothing. He insisted. He gave me a CA road. He told me that if I ever needed anything at all, I was to call. He meant it." I reached into my pocket. My fingers closed around the familiar worn edge of the CA road. I did not pull it out. I just held it there, a physical anchor to the truth. H.A. Risen's face was a battlefield. He wanted to laugh. He wanted to call me a liar. But there was something in the way I stood, the absolute stillness, the unblinking estiree, that made him hesitate. "You're making this up?" Megan said, but her voice had lost its confidence. It was a child's voice now, SCA red and defensive. "You can't prove that. And even if you did, it doesn't matter. The interview is next week. I'm the best candidate. They need me." "Need you?" I allowed a sliver of cold amusement to enter my voice. "The position is for a senior analyst in the Strategic Acquisitions Division. The salary is $240,000 a year. The benefits UNPA ralled. The prestige, immeasurable. Your father has been bragging about it for months." "Then you know," H.A. Risen said, his voice cracking. He was trying to recover, trying to regain the high ground. "You know how important this is. You can't stand in the way of a young woman's future just because of some vegetables." "Vegetables," I repeated. I looked at the mess on the ground, the ruined produce, the wasted labor. "You stole from me, Mr. Cole. You trespassed onto my property. You uprooted my plants. You destroyed my harvest. And then you publicly berated me, in front of my home, in front of my neighbors. You attempted to humiliate me. You're making a mountain out of a—" "I am a man of patience," I said, cutting him off. "I am a man of restraint, but I am not a man who forgets. And I am not a man who forgives." I turned my gaze to Megan. She flinched almost imperceptibly. "Miss Cole, your interview is scheduled for 10 o'clock on Tuesday morning. The conference room on the 47th floor. The panel will consist of 3 senior vice presidents. And me." The silence that followed was absolute. The birds had stopped singing. The neighbors had stopped breathing. H.A. Risen's jaw had gone slack, his face a pasty mask of disbelief. "You," Megan whispered. You're not." "I am the head of strategic acquisitions," I said. "Julian Voss appointed me personally. I have been with the company for 12 years. I have approved or rejected every single hire in my division for the last 8. I don't attend neighborhood events because I am not here. I am in Zurich, or Tokyo, or New York. I come here to tend my GA Reden because it is the only thing that keeps me sane. And you, Mr. Cole, have just destroyed that sanctuary. H.A. Risen took a step back. He collided with his wheelbarrow, almost stumbling. His eyes were deruding, sea urching for an exit, a counter-argument, anything. That's not possible, he stammered. You can't be. You're just a guy. You live in that little house. You drive that old truck. I prefer simplicity, I said. It allows me to think clearly. But simplicity is not weakness. And it is certainly not an invitation for abuse. Megan was shaking. Her phone slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the driveway. Dad, do something. But H.A. Risen had nothing. He was a man who had never encountered a consequence. He had bullied his way through life, relying on his size and his volume and his absolute certainty that he was entitled to everything. And now, for the first time, he was facing a wall. The interview, I said, turning back to Megan. You will attend. You will sit before the panel. And I will ask you one question. 1. Your answer will determine whether you walk out of that room with a CA rear or a rejection letter. What question? She breathed. I did not answer. I simply looked at her, then at her father, then at the ruined harvest on the ground. I took a step four-way RD, my boot crushing the remains of a zucchini. H.A. Risen flinched. I will see you on Tuesday, I said. Let's see if the apple falls are from the tree. I turned and walked into my house. I did not look back. I did not slam the door. I closed it gently, the latch clicking into place with a soft, final sound. Through the window, I could see the neighbors dispersing. I could see Megan retrieving her phone. I could see H.A. Risen standing in his driveway, his fists clenched at his sides, his face twisted with rage and fear. I walked to my kitchen. I poured myself a glass of water. I looked at my jardin through the window, a patch of yardage that now held nothing but holes and uprooted stems. Tuesday was 5 days away. I had work to do. The rest of the day passed in a blur of deliberate action. I did not replant. I did not mourn. I simply waited. I had a file on Megan Cole. Of course I did. I had files on everyone in my division, every candidate, every potential hire. It was not paranoia. It was preparation. In the corporate world, leverage was the only currency that mattered. Her resume was impressive. Summa cum laude from a respectable university. 2 years at a mid-tier consulting firm. A string of glowing recommendations. She had the credentials. She had the polish. She had the ambition. But I had her father's voice on a recording. I had been working in my GA Reden the previous week when H.A. Risen had received a call from a debt collector. He had been in his backyard, pacing, his voice loud and ungué-ride. I told you, he had shouted. I'll have the money by the end of the month. Just give me more time. I can't lose the house. My daughter's interview is coming up. She's gonna get that job and then we'll be fine. Just don't call the office. Don't call my wife. Please. I had not intended to eavesdrop. But the fence was thin and his voice was desperate. I had learned that H.A. Risen was drowning in debt. A failed business venture. A gambling habit. A mortgage he could not afford. He had been living on the edge for years, and his daughter's potential success was his only lifeline. The interview was not just about Megan's ambition. It was about survival. I did not see a re about his survival. I see a read about my GA Reden. I see a read about the hours I had spent nurturing those plants, the quiet satisfaction of watching them grow, the small peace they had brought to my chaotic life, and he had destroyed it all in a fit of petty malice. The next morning, I arrived at the office before dawn. The building was a monolith of glass and steel, towering over the city like a monument to ambition. I took the private elevator to the 47th floor. My office was a corner suite, minimalist, with a single orchid on the desk and a view that stretched to the horizon. I reviewed the interview panel's notes. 3 senior VPs, Morrison, Klein, and PARK. Morrison was a numbers man, obsessed with spreadsheets. Klein was a people person, focused on cultural fit. PARK was a wild CARD, a former engineer with a penchant for trick questions. I dictated a brief memo. Candidate Megan Cole. Do not prejudge. Do not pre-approve. I will lead the questioning. Follow my lead. I sent it to the panel. Then I waited. The days passed slowly. I did not return to my GA Reden. I did not leave the house except to go to the office. I worked. Prepper read. I let the silence build. On Saturday, I heard RDHA Risen's voice through the fence again. He was yelling at his wife. I don't see what you think. You don't understand. He's not going to do anything. He's bluffing. He's a nobody. I'll make him pay. I'll fix this. I smiled. I had taken the liberty of leaving a basket of fresh produce, purchased from the F.A. Ramirez Market, since my own was gone, on his doorstep that morning. A peace offering, it might have seemed. In truth, it was a reminder of what he had taken, a reminder of what was still to come. On Monday evening, my phone buzzed. A text from a blocked number. I know who you are. I know what you're planning. My father is not the one you should be worried about. Megan. She had found my number. She had been digging, trying to find dirt on me. She was clever. That was a point in her favor. I did not respond. Tuesday morning dawned gray and cold. I dressed in a charcoal suit, white shirt, black tie. I drove to the office in my old truck. I parked in the executive lot. I took the private elevator to the 47th floor. The conference room was a glass box, exposed to the open floor plan. The panel was already seated. Morrison, Klein, and PARK, their faces bland and professional. Megan was seated at the head of the table, her back to the window, her hands folded neatly in front of her. She was wearing a navy blue suit, her hair pulled back in a severe ponytail. She looked composed. She looked ready. She looked like she had not slept in 5 days. I walked in. The panel stood. Megan did not. She read at me, her eyes wide, her lips pressed together. Miss Cole, I said, taking my seat at the opposite end of the table. Thank you for coming. She swallowed. Mr. Voss told me you would be here. He told me who you are. I nodded. Julian had been supportive, as always. Then you understand the stakes. I understand that you have a personal vendetta against my father, she said, her voice steady. But I am not my father. I am here on my own merits. I deserve a fair shot. I opened her file. I scanned it. I looked up at her. Your father stole from me. He destroyed weeks of work. He publicly humiliated me. And you stood there and said nothing. He's my father. Exactly, I said. And you are his daughter. The question is not whether you have the skills. The question is whether you have the integrity. The question is whether you would have taken my produce if your father had asked you to. She flinched. It was a tiny movement, almost invisible, but I caught it. I don't steal, she said. No, I agreed. You just stand by while others do it. You just watch. You just scroll through your phone. I paused. I let the silence stretch. The panel was motionless. The open floor plan beyond the glass was buzzing with activity. But in this room, time had stopped. I have a single question for you, Miss Cole, I said. One question, and your answer will determine everything. She leaned forward, her knuckles white on the table. Your father is drowning in debt, I said. He is one missed payment away from losing his house. You are his only hope. If you get this job, you can save him. If you don't, he's ruined. That is the context. That is the pressure. Now, here is my question. I paused again. I let the weight of the moment settle. Would you have stolen my produce? Megan's face drained of color. Her hands tightened on the table's edge. The room seemed to shrink to... That's not a fair question, she said. That's not a professional question. This is an interview for a corporate position, not a... Answer the question, I said, my voice flat. I didn't steal from you, she said. My father did. I wasn't involved. You watched. You did nothing. You offered no apology. You stood there and let him lie about my GA Reden crossing the property line. You let him call me a hermit. You let him call me a threat. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I saw the calculation in her eyes. The desperate CRCH for the correct answer. The company is not just looking for a strategic analyst, I continued. We are looking for a leader who will not be swayed by family loyalty to overlook wrongdoing, a leader who will not stand idle while a colleague is being attacked. I would have stopped him, she said suddenly. If I had known what he was about to do, I would have stopped him. I didn't know. You knew what was in the wheelbarrow, I said. You knew it was mine. You knew he had gone to the Berated. You knew he was going to uproot everything. And you stayed on the porch. You watched. You waited. And when he was done, you offered him a glass of water. She flinched again. I had seen it through the window. The small gesture of complicity. The silent approval. Miss Cole, I said. I am not going to reject you based on your father's actions. That would be unjust. That would be unfair. But I am going to reject you based on yours. I didn't do anything, she said, her voice cracking. Exactly, I said. You did nothing. And in this company, doing nothing is not an option. When we see wrongdoing, we act. When we see injustice, we speak. When we see a colleague being abused, we intervene. You had a choice. You chose to watch. And that is not the kind of leader we are looking for. Morrison shifted in his seat. Klein looked uncomfortable. Park was studying his notebook, deliberately avoiding eye contact. The judgment had been made. Megan's composure shattered. Her shoulders shook. A single tear traced a path down her cheek. Please, she whispered. Please, my family. We need this. I need this. I have a brother in college. I have student loans. My mother is sick. I can't. I held up a hand. She stopped. I don't see a about your family's financial situation, I said. I see a about your character. And your character, right now, is not strong enough for this role. Is there anything I can do, she asked. Anything at all, I paused. I considered my next words. Fully. Apologize, I said. Publicly. In front of the neighbors. In front of my Berated. Tell them what your father did. Tell them you were wrong to stay silent. Tell them you were ashamed. She read at me. Her expression was a mixture of hope and horror. And if I do that, then I will reconsider your application, I said. The panel will reconvene. We will discuss your qualifications. And we will decide. It was a sliver of a chance. A tiny, fragile thread. But it was enough. I'll do it, she said. I'll do it tonight. I'll get my father. We'll both apologize. We'll fix the Berated. You will fix nothing, I said. The Berated is already ruined. The produce is gone. The harvest is over. You cannot repair what has been broken. You can only acknowledge the break. She nodded. She was crying openly now, her composure utterly gone. I'll do it, she repeated. I promise. I stood up. The meeting was over. I will wait, I said. Goodbye, Miss Cole. I walked out of the conference room. I did not look back. I walked through the open floor plan, past the rows of desks, past the employees who were pretending not to stare. I took the private elevator down to the lobby. I walked to my truck. I drove home. The neighborhood was quiet. The afternoon sun was low, casting long shadows across the lawns. I pulled into my driveway. I looked at my Berated. The Berated, the holes, the broken stems. I waited at 6 o'clock. I heard the first sound. A door slamming. Then voices. Risen's voice, loud and defensive. Megan's voice, quieter, pleading. I walked to my front window. I pulled back the curtain. Risen and Megan were standing in the street. Risen was in a state of agitation, his hands waving, his face red. Megan was trying to calm him down, her hands on his arm, her words too low to hear. Neighbors began to emerge. Mr. Park stepped onto his porch. Mrs. Gable crossed her arms. The same spectators from Saturday, but now their faces were different. Curious, apprehensive. I stepped outside. Mr. Cole, I said. Miss Cole. H.A. Risen spun around. His eyes were wild. This is extortion, he said. This is blackmail. I'm going to the police. I'm going to. Dad, stop, Megan said. She stepped in front of him. She faced me. Her eyes were red, but her expression was resolute. I'm sorry, she said. I should have stopped him. I should have told him to leave your Berated alone. I should have apologized immediately. I didn't. And I'm sorry. Look at everyone, I said. Look at them. She turned. She faced the neighbors. Her voice was trembling, but she forced the words out. My father stole from this man's Berated, she said. He destroyed his produce. He verbally attacked him. And I did nothing. I watched. I didn't stop him. I am ashamed. H.A. Risen was fuming. Megan, you don't have to. Dad. Shut up, she said. She turned back to me. I have apologized. Now, can we please? Your father, I said. He hasn't apologized. H.A. Risen's face contorted. I'm not going to apologize to this. Dad, Megan said, her voice a razor's edge. Apologize. H.A. Risen looked at his daughter. He looked at me. He looked at the neighbors. The weight of public opinion was crushing him. He was a bully who had been backed into a corner. Fine, he spat. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have taken your vegetables. It was petty. It was stupid. Are you happy now? No, I said. I'm not happy. I'm not unhappy. I'm simply watching. I turned to Megan. I will speak to the panel. We will consider your request. But I will not promise anything. The decision will be based on your qualifications, not your apology. You're not going to give her the job, H.A. Risen said. His voice was flat, resigned. That remains to be seen, I said. But I will tell you this. The interview is over. The evaluation is ongoing. I will contact you by the end of the week. I turned and walked back to my house. The night passed in silence. I did not sleep. I sat in my living room, a ring at the blank wall, my mind turning over the events of the day. I had made a promise. I would reconsider her application, but I had not promised to accept it. Thursday morning, I arrived at the office EARLY. I called the panel together. We sat in the same conference room, the same glass box, the same sterile lighting. I have decided to offer Miss Cole the position, I said. Morrison looked up, surprised. Klein nodded slowly. Park raised an eyebrow. After everything, Morrison asked. The apology was public, I said. It was humiliating. She did it anyway. She has courage. She has the qualifications. And she now understands the stakes. You're just going to let it go? Klein asked. No, I said. I'm going to use it. She will be grateful. She will be loyal. She will be the most dedicated employee we have because she knows she almost lost everything. That is the kind of fire we need. I picked up my phone. I dialed Megan's number. Hello, her voice was tentative. This is the head of strategic acquisitions, I said. The panel has decided to offer you the job. The offer letter will be sent to your email within the hour. A pause. A gasp. Thank you. Thank you so much. I won't let you down. I promise. Your father, I said. He owes me a new Berated. I expect it to be planted by the end of the month. Every seed, every plant, exactly as it was before. He will do it. He will not complain. And he will not steal from me again. I'll make sure of it, she said. I hung up. The day passed. I did not think about H.A. Risen. I did not think about the Berated. I thought about the work, the numbers, the deals, the relentless churn of corporate life. At 6 o'clock, I drove home. The neighborhood was quiet. The streetlights were flickering on, casting pools of yellow light on the pavement. I pulled into my driveway. I looked at my Berated. A single, small zucchini plant had been placed in the center of the Berated. Its leaves were wilted, its roots lie covered by soil. Someone had tried to replant. I walked to the Berated. I knelt down. I touched the wilted leaves. H.A. Risen had been there. He had tried to make amends. But it was too little. It was too late. I pulled the plant from the ground. I carried it to the trash can. I dropped it in. Then I walked to my door. I unlocked it. I stepped inside. The phone was ringing. I picked it up. Mr. Vance, the voice was familiar. Julian Voss. I heard about the interview. I heard about the Berated. Are you all right? I'm fine, Julian. Are you sure I can have someone come out? I can have someone take care of the situation. I'm fine. Very well. I wanted to tell you. The quarterly earnings report. We beat projections. By a significant margin. I'm sending you a bonus. A large one. Thank you. It's well deserved. I hung up. Friday afternoon. I was in my office, reviewing next quarter's projections, when my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The Berated is replanted. Every seed. Every stem. I did it myself. Please accept this as my apology. I won't bother you again. H.C. I deleted the message. I had no intention of returning to the Berated. The soil was still bare. The memory of my wasted labor was still fresh. But I had moved on. I had bigger things to think about. Monday morning, I walked into the office and found a note on my desk. It was written in precise, elegant handwriting. I understand the decision. I will work hard. I will prove myself. I will never forget what you did for me. M.C. I folded the note and put it in my drawer. I did not think about Megan. I did not think about H.A. Risen. I thought about the work. By Wednesday, the excitement had faded. The office was buzzing with a new rumor. A merger. A hostile takeover. The kind of deal that could make or break careers. I was summoned to the 49th floor. The executive suite. Julian Voss's private office. The BOA RD wants you to lead the negotiations, Julian said. The target company is volatile. The CEO is difficult. We need someone with your calm, your patience, your ability to wait. I can do that. I know you can, Julian said. There's something else. The other side's legal counsel. We've done a background check. He has a history of aggressive tactics. He's known for exploiting personal connections. We believe he's been in contact with someone close to you. Who? Your neighbor, Julian said. H.A. Risen Cole. He's been making calls. He's been trying to get information about you. He's been paid. I said nothing. My face was a mask of stone. Inside, the machinery of my memory was turning. H.A. Risen was still trying. He had not accepted his defeat. He was still fighting. He was still dangerous. I will handle it, I said. We thought you might say that, Julian said. We've prepared a contingency. Your resignation. Effective immediately. You've been reassigned to a special project. A new division. A new office. You'll be relocating. For how long? Indefinitely. I considered the implications. The neighborhood. The Berated. The empty house. The broken stems. I accept. I said. I returned to the house that evening. I packed a single suitcase. I left everything else. At midnight I walked outside. I looked at the Berated. The replanted seeds had sta root to sprout. Tiny green shoots pushing through the soil. H.A. Risen's labor. His attempt at redemption. I ride my suitcase to the truck. I loaded it into the back. I returned to the Berated. I took out my phone. I opened the camera. I filmed the Berated. The BA repatches. The new shoots. The empty soil. Then I drove to the office. I went to the executive suite. I knocked on Julian's door. Come in. I entered. I placed a folder on his desk. Inside were photographs. The Berated. The new shoots. A receipt from a HRDWA restore. Dated that afternoon. H.A. Risen's receipt. A map of the property line. Marked with red lines. He's been planting on my side of the property line, I said. He's been trying to claim my land. He's been building a case. He's been planning a lawsuit. Julian opened the folder. He scanned the documents. His face remained impassive. That changes things, he said. I have one request, I said. The merger. The negotiations. I want to be party of them. Not on your side. On the other side. Julian looked up. His eyes were sharp. You want to switch sides? I want to end this. Risen is involved. He's been paid to disrupt the negotiations. He's been paid to sabotage me. I want to know who paid him. I want to know why. Julian considered this. That's dangerous. That's unethical. No more dangerous than what they're planning, I said. No more unethical than what Risen has already done. Julian was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. Do it. I'll make the arrangements. I'll contact the opposing counsel. I'll tell them you're being let go. You'll be on their side by the end of the week. Thank you. I walked out of his office. I walked back to the 47th floor. I gathered my personal belongings. A photo of my Reden. The orchid. The file on Megan Cole. I walked to the elevator. I pressed the button. The doors opened. Megan was inside. She was wearing her navy blue suit. Her hair was pulled back. She looked composed. Professional. Mr. Vance, she said. I heard the news. Good news travels fast. I said. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry about everything. My father. The Reden. The merger. I know he's involved. I know he's been working against you. I'm sorry. Your apology is noted, I said. But it's not enough. She nodded. She was not crying. She was not pleading. She was accepting. I will work hard, she said. I will prove myself. I will never forget what you did for me. I stepped into the elevator. The doors closed. The phone rang. I answered. Mr. Vance, a new voice. Legal counsel. I understand you're interested in joining our team. I have to ask. Is this a trap? No, I said. This is a turn. I've been wronged. I want to right that wrong. I want to know who paid Risen Cole. I want to know why. And I want to stop them. Very well, the voice said. Welcome to the other side. I hung up. The elevator descended. I watched the numbers tick down. 47. 46. 45. I was leaving. I was moving on. I was entering a new game. The doors opened. I stepped out. I walked through the lobby. I walked to my truck. I got in. I root the engine. I did not look back. The window rolled down. I took a breath. Risen's last attempt had failed. The Reden would be filled with his own guilt. The job would be filled with his daughter's ambition. The merger would be filled with my vengeance. I drove away. The phone buzzed. A message from Julian. He's been paid by the rival firm. The one we're acquiring. They planted him. They've been using him to destabilize the deal. We have proof. The deal is dead. We're going after them. Congratulations. You just won. I put the phone down. I did not celebrate. I did not smile. I drove. The city lights flickered behind me. The road stretched ahead. Empty. Endless. The man who had stolen my Reden was now a pawn in a Law Ridger game. And I had just turned the Boa road. I would not return. I would not forgive. I would not forget. I would simply wait. The end of the beginning. I arrived at the new office at 3 in the morning. It was a nondescript building on the outskirts of the city. No signage. No reception desk. Just a single door with a keypad. I punched in the code Julian had given me. The door clicked open. Inside. The space was spa RSE. A desk. A chair. Computer. A single lamp casting a pool of yellow light on the surface. I sat down. I opened the computer. I logged in. The files were already there. The merger details. The target company's financials. The list of key players on the other side. And their NEA are the bottom of the list. A name I recognized. Risen Cole. Listed as an external consultant. Paid retainer. Access to sensitive information. ISTA read at the screen. The pieces were falling into place. Risen had not just been a nuisance. He had been a weapon. A tool used by the rival firm to weaken Julian's position. They had known about the Reden. They had known about the dispute. They had exploited it. And now I was on their side. I could see their playbook. I could see their moves before they made them. I picked up the phone. I dialed Julian. Change of plans, I said. I'm not going to just watch. I'm going to dismantle them from the inside. BCA refill, Julian said. These people play dirty. I know, I said. So do I. I hung up. I began to work. I reviewed the documents. I cross-referenced the names. I found the connections, the hidden agreements, the backdoor deals. By dawn, I had a map, a blueprint of the rival firm's strategy. And at the center of it, a single point of failure. Risen Cole. He was the linchpin, the weak link, the man who had been bought and paid for. And I had the evidence. I compiled a dossier. Every call, every payment, every meeting. I documented it all. I built a case so airtight that no lawyer could TR at APART. Then I waited. At 9 o'clock, my phone rang. The rival firm's legal counsel. Mr. Vance, the voice said. We've reviewed your credentials. We've verified your departure from Voss Industries. We're ready to bring you on Boa Road. There's a meeting at noon. The conference room at the CA Rolton Hotel. Can you make it? I'll be there, I said. I hung up. I gathered the dossier. I placed it in my briefcase. I walked out of the nondescript building. I got into my truck. I drove to the CA Rolton Hotel. The lobby was marble and crystal. The conference room was on the second floor, a cavernous space with a long table and high-back chairs. I walked in. The rival team was already seated. 6 men in expensive suits, a woman in a power skirt, and at the head of the table, a figure I recognized. Risen Cole. He looked up as I entered. His face drained of color. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Gentlemen, I said, placing my briefcase on the table. I believe we have some unfinished business. The room went silent. Risen's chair scraped back as he stood. His hands braced against the table. His face was a ruin of shock and fury. You, he said. What are you doing here? I did not answer. I walked to the empty seat at the opposite end of the table. I set my briefcase down. I opened it. I removed a single manila folder and placed it in front of me. The rival firm's lead counsel. A Shah RP-featured man named Devereux. Clea read his throat. Mr. Vance, we were under the impression you were joining our team. This is an unexpected development. Unexpected for some, I said. Not for me. Risen was still standing. His fists were clenched. His breathing was ragged. This is a setup. You set me up. You're working for them. Working for whom? I asked. I'm not working for anyone. I'm working for the truth. What truth? Devereux demanded. We don't have time for theatrics. We have a merger to discuss. I agree, I said. Let's discuss it. Let's discuss the fact that you have been paying Risen Cole to destabilize Voss Industries. Let's discuss the fact that you used his personal dispute with me as a weapon. Let's discuss the fact that you have been leaking confidential information to a known third party. Devereux's face went pale. That's a serious accusation. It's not an accusation, I said. It's a fact. I have evidence. I opened the folder. I spread the contents across the table. Photographs, bank statements, call logs, text messages, signed agreements. Risen sta read at the documents. His eyes root from one piece of paper to the next. That's not. You hacked my phone. I don't need to hack your phone, I said. You left your emails open on your daughter's laptop. She was CA Realis. She left it on the kitchen counter. I saw it through the window. You spied on me. I observed, I said. There's a difference. The room was deathly quiet. The rival team exchanged glances. Devereux picked up one of the bank statements. His hands were trembling. This is a forgery, he said. It's not, I said. Your signature is on the wire transfer. Your assistant's signature is on the confirmation. I've already sent copies to the SEC. They'll be here within the hour. You wouldn't, Risen said. You can't. This will destroy me. It will destroy my daughter. She just got the job. You gave her the job. I gave her the job, I said. Because she reneged it. She apologized. She took responsibility. She proved that she had integrity. You, on the other hand, have proved nothing but greed and malice. H.A. Risen collapsed into his chair. His head dropped into his hands. What do you want? Money? I don't have any money. You know that. I don't want your money, I said. I want your confession. In writing. In front of these witnesses. I can't do that. You can, I said. Or I can hand this folder to the SEC and let them decide what to do with it. Fraud. Embezzlement. Conspiracy. The charges a re-extensive. The penalties a re-severe. Devereux stood up. Mr. Vance. This is highly irregular. We need to discuss this in private. We need to do nothing, I said. The time for discussion is over. The time for decision is now. H.A. Risen, you have 60 seconds. H.A. Risen looked at Devereux. He looked at the other lawyers. He looked at the documents spread across the table. You've destroyed me, he said. I haven't destroyed you, I said. I've exposed you. There's a difference. You destroyed yourself when you stole from my G.A. Reden. You destroyed yourself when you lied to the neighbors. You destroyed yourself when you sold your soul to these people. I just provided the evidence. The 60 seconds ticked by. I watched the clock on the wall. The second hand moved in slow, deliberate circles. 45 seconds. I said. H.A. Risen's shoulders sagged. His face was a mask of defeat. Fine. I'll sign. I'll confess. Just don't send that folder to the SEC. I slid a piece of paper across the table. A pre-written confession. I had read it the night before. Read it, I said. Sign it. Date it. H.A. Risen picked up the paper. He read it. His eyes moved slowly, each word a fresh wound. I, H.A. Risen Cole, do hereby confess to the following. He stopped. He looked up at me. This is a full confession. It names Devereux. It names the firm. It names everyone. That's the point, I said. I can't sign this. They'll come after me. They'll destroy me. They'll destroy you anyway, I said. This confession is your only protection. It turns you from a co-conspirator into a cooperating witness. It gives you a chance. A small one, but a chance. H.A. Risen looked at Devereux. Devereux was shaking his head. Don't do it, Cole. We'll protect you. We have resources. We have. You have nothing, I said. You have a wire transfer that proves you paid him. You have emails that prove you directed him. You have a trail of evidence that leads directly to your door. The SEC will come. They will seize your files. They will seize your computers. They will seize everything. Devereux sat down. His face was grayed at 20 seconds. I said. H.A. Risen grabbed the pen. He signed the confession. His hand was shaking. The signature was a jagged scrawl. Done, he said. I picked up the paper. I scanned it. It was perfect. I placed it back in the folder. I closed the folder. I stood up. Thank you, Mr. Cole, I said. You've made the right decision. You're still going to destroy me, he said. I'm not going to destroy you, I said. I'm going to let you live with the consequences. Your confession will be filed. Your cooperation will be noted. But your reputation is in shambles. Your credibility is gone. Your G.A. Reden is still empty. I walked to the door. I paused. I turned back. Your daughter, I said. She still has a job. She still has a future. She is not you. Remember that. I opened the door. I walked out. I did not look back. The weight of the folder was heavy in my hands, but the weight of the truth was heavier. I walked through the lobby. I walked to my truck. I got in. I sat there for a long moment. The engine was cold. The city was quiet. The sky was gray. Ista root the engine. I drove. The phone buzzed. A message from Julian. SEC just arrived. They're seizing everything. Well done. Come to the office. We have a new project. A big one. I did not respond. I drove. The road stretched ahead. Empty. Endless. I thought about the G.A. Reden. The empty EARTH. The broken stems. The small, wilted zucchini plant that H.A. Risen had tried to replant. I thought about Megan. Her face when I had given her the job. Her face when I had walked out of the elevator. I thought about H.A. Risen. His face when he signed the confession. The way his hand had trembled. The way his voice had cracked. I did not feel satisfaction. I did not feel pity. I felt nothing but a cold, quiet CLA righty. The game was over. But the game was not finished. I drove to the office. I walked to the 47th floor. I sat at my desk. I waited. The office was empty when I arrived. The floor was dark except for the glow of emergency lights and the distant hum of servers. I walked to my corner suite and sat in the leather chair. The city sprawled below me, a grid of light and shadow. I did not turn on the lamp. I sat in the dark and listened to the silence. An hour passed. Then too. The phone on my desk did not ring. The computer screen remained black. I had done what I came to do. The confession was filed. The SEC was involved. The rival firm was collapsing. I thought about H.A. Risen. He was probably at home now, pacing his living room, waiting for the knock on the door. He was probably calling Megan, begging her to forgive him, begging her to help him. He was probably realizing that his daughter's loyalty had limits, that her ambition was stronger than her love. I did not see a re. I had given him a chance. He had taken it. But the chance did not erase the past. It did not restore my G.A. Reden. It did not give me back the hours I had spent nurturing those plants. I stood up. I walked to the window. I pressed my palm against the cold glass. The phone buzzed. A text from Julian. The rival firm is in full retreat. They're offering a settlement. A big one. We're going to take it. You're getting a percentage. A very large percentage. I put the phone down. I did not respond. The percentage meant nothing. The money meant nothing. I had enough money. I had more than enough. I had spent years accumulating wealth, building a CA rear, climbing the ladder. And for what? So I could tend a GA Reden in a quiet neighborhood and watch a bully destroy it. I walked out of the office. I took the elevator to the lobby. I walked to my truck. I drove home. The neighborhood was dark. The streetlights were broken. 3 of them had been out for weeks. H.A. Risen had complained about them, but he had done nothing to fix them. He was good at complaining. He was bad at acting. I pulled into my driveway. I sat in the truck. I looked at my G.A. Reden. The new chutes were gone. Someone had stepped on them, crushed them into the dirt. I got out of the truck. I walked to the G.A. Reden. I knelt down. The footprints were large. The tread was familiar. I had seen it on H.A. Risen's shoes. The ones he wore when he worked on his CAR. The ones with the deep grooves and the worn heels. He had come back. He had destroyed the replanting. He had undone his own apology. I stood up. I walked to his house. The lights were on. The curtains were drawn. I could hear our voices. H.A. Risen and his wife. Arguing. I knocked on the door. The voices stopped. A moment of silence. Then footsteps. The door opened a crack. H.A. Risen's eye read in the gap. He saw me. His face went white. "What do you want?" he said. "I want to show you something," I said. "I don't want to see anything. Go away." "I think you do," I said. "I think you want to see what you've done." I stepped back. I gestured Tawa RD my GA Reden. The crushed shoots. The BA REARTH. The footprints. H.A. Risen opened the door. He stepped out. He looked at the GA Reden. His face was a mask of confusion. "I didn't do that," he said. "The footprints are yours," I said. "They're not. I didn't come back. I swear." "Then who did?" He shook his head. "I don't know. I don't know anything. I've been inside all night. I've been on the phone with lawyers. I've been trying to save my family. I didn't touch your GA Reden." I studied his face. He was telling the truth. He was too broken to lie. "Then someone else did," I said. "Who?" "I don't know," I said. "But I'm going to find out." I turned and walked back to my house. I did not look back. I did not thank him. I did not apologize. I sat in my living room. I read at the wall. I thought about the footprints. They were H.A. Risen's size. They were H.A. Risen's tread. But they could have been anyone's. Anyone who had access to his shoes. Anyone who wanted to frame him. Megan. The thought came to me suddenly. She had the access. She had the motive. She was smart. She was calculating. She was willing to sacrifice her father to protect her career. I picked up my phone. I dialed Megan's number. She answered on the first ring. Mr. Vance? Miss Cole, I said. Did you step on my jardin tonight? A pause. What? Did you step on my jardin tonight? I repeated. The replanted shoots. The footprints. They match your father's shoes. But he says he didn't do it. That leaves you. Mr. Vance, I didn't. I know you did, I said. I saw you on the security camera. I had no security camera. But she didn't know that. I'm sorry, she said. I'm so sorry. I was angry. My father called me. He told me I was going to lose my job. He told me you were going to fire me because of what he did. Panicked. I came over. I saw the jardin. You just what? I wanted to hurt him, she said. I wanted to make him pay for what he did. He was so smug. He kept talking about how he had fixed everything. How he had replanted the jardin. How he was going to save the family. And I knew it was a lie. I knew he was still working against you. I knew he was still taking money from the rival firm. I was so angry. She was crying now, sobbing into the phone. I'll understand if you want to fire me, she said. I don't want to fire you, I said. I want you to come over. I want you to see what you've done. I can't. I can't face you. You can, I said. You will. You will walk through my front door. You will look at the jardin. And then you will tell me everything. I don't know anything else. I swear. Yes, you do, I said. You know who paid your father. You know where the money came from. You know who else is involved. She was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice a whisper. There's a man. His name is Reynolds. He's the CEO of the rival firm. He gave my father the money. He told him to sabotage the merger. He told him to ruin you. My father didn't want to do it. He needed the money. He was desperate. And you? I didn't want to be part of it. I told him to stop. I told him to find another way. He wouldn't listen. So you came to my jardin, I said. You stepped on the chutes. You tried to make it look like your father had done it again. You wanted to punish him. Yes. Did you think I wouldn't find out? I didn't think you'd see she said. I thought you'd just blame him. I thought you'd be happy to have another reason to destroy him. I don't need another reason, I said. I have enough. I hung up. I sat in the arcade. The truth was out. Reynolds was the puppet master. Risen was the puppet. Megan was the collateral damage. I picked up the phone. I called Julian. I need a favor, I said. Name it. I need you to subpoena Reynolds. I need you to bring him in. I need you to make him talk. I can do that, Julian said. But it's going to take time. It's going to take resources. I have time, I said. And I have resources. Give me a week, Julian said. A week. I hung up. I walked to the window. I looked at my jardin. The crushed shoots. The Berated. The footprints. Tomorrow I would replant. I would start again. I would build something new. But tonight, I would wait. The week passed in a blur of silence and preparation. I did not speak to Risen. I did not speak to Megan. I did not speak to anyone except Julian, and our conversations were brief, clinical, focused on the task at hand. Reynolds was a ghost. He had gone underground the moment the SEC began its investigation. His offices were empty. His phones were disconnected. His lawyers were stonewalling. But Julian had resources. Julian had connections. Julian had a team of former intelligence operatives who specialized in finding people who did not want to be found. On the sixth day, my phone rang. Julian's voice was tight with suppressed excitement. We found him. He's in a safe house outside the city. Cabin in the woods. No phone. No internet. He thinks he's invisible. Give me the address, I said. I'll send it to you. But be careful. He's desperate. He's got nothing to lose. I understand. I wrote down the address. I put on my coat. I walked to my truck. The drive took 2 hours. The roads grew narrower, rougher, more isolated. The trees closed in around me, their branches forming a canopy that blocked the fading light. The cabin was at the end of a dirt track, hidden behind a stand of pines. It was small, weathered, with a single chimney and a porch that sagged under the weight of neglect. I parked the truck. I walked to the front door. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. Reynolds, I said. I know you're in there. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to talk. The door opened a crack. A face read in the gap. Gaunt. Ba ride. Eyes that were hollow and rimmed with exhaustion. Who are you? He said. My name is Vance. You've heard of me. Vance, he repeated. The GA Redenner. The head of strategic acquisitions, I said. But yes, the GA Redenner. He opened the door wider. He stepped back. He gestured for me to enter. The cabin was spa RSE. A cot, a table, a wood-burning stove, a stack of empty bottles in the corner. I've been waiting for you, he said. I knew you'd come. I knew you wouldn't let it go. You stole from me, I said. You paid H.A. Risen Cole to destroy my GA Reden. You paid him to sabotage my company. You used him as a weapon. I did what I had to do, he said. The merger was everything. My company was dying. I needed to stop it. I needed to create chaos. H.A. Risen was a tool. A convenient tool. You ruined my life, I said. I ruined your GA Reden, he said. Your life is still intact. You still have your job. You still have your money. You still have your future. What do I have? Nothing. I've lost everything. Good, I said. He laughed. A hollow, bitter sound. You're a cold one, aren't you? I'm a patient one, I said. There's a difference. I walked to the table. I placed a folder on it. The same folder I had shown H.A. Risen. The confession. The bank statements. The call logs. I have enough evidence to put you away for a decade, I said. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to offer you a choice. A choice, he said. What kind of choice? The same choice I gave H.A. Risen, I said. Confess, publicly, in front of everyone. Tell the world what you did. Tell them how you used H.A. Risen. Tell them how you tried to destroy my company. And if I refuse, then I hand this folder to the SEC, and you spend the next 10 years in a federal prison. ESTA read at me. His eyes were empty. You're going to destroy me either way. I'm going to give you a chance, I said. A small one, but a chance. He sat down on the cot. He put his head in his hands. I don't have anything left. My company is gone. My family is gone. My money is gone. What's the point? The point, I said, is that you can still do the right thing. You can still be honest. You can still be accountable. It won't fix what you've done, but it will give you a measure of dignity. Dignity, he said. That's a joke. Maybe, I said, but it's the only thing I can offer. He was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. Fine, I'll do it. I'll confess. I'll tell them everything. Good, I said. I'll arrange a press conference. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, the CA Rolton Hotel. The same room where you met with your lawyers. He looked up. You knew about that meeting? I knew about everything. I said. I turned and walked out of the cabin. I did not look back. The next morning, I arrived at the CA Rolton Hotel at 9 o'clock. The conference room was already set up. A podium, a microphone, a row of chairs for the press. I stood in the corner and waited. At 10 o'clock, the doors opened. The press flooded in. Cameras, notebooks, microphones. They took their seats. They waited. Julian arrived. He walked to the podium. He adjusted the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, he said, thank you for coming. We have a statement to make. A statement that will expose a conspiracy to sabotage our company. A statement that will hold the guilty parties accountable. He stepped aside. Reynolds walked to the podium. He looked pale. He looked broken. He looked like a man who had nothing left to lose. "My name is Reynolds," he said. "I am the former CEO of the rival firm. I am here to confess to a series of crimes. I paid a man named H.A. Risen Cole to sabotage the merger. I paid him to destroy the GA Reden of a man named Vance. I paid him to disrupt the negotiations. I did all of this because I was desperate, because my company was failing, because I was willing to do anything to save it." The press erupted. Questions shouted from every corner. "Did you act alone? Who else was involved? What do you have to say to the victims?" Reynolds held up a hand. The room fell silent. "I acted alone," he said. "I used H.A. Risen Cole as a tool. He was desperate too. He was drowning in debt. He was willing to do anything to save his family. I exploited that. I manipulated him. I used him." "And the GA Reden," a reporter called out. "Why the GA Reden?" Reynolds looked at me. His eyes met mine. "Because it was personal. Because I knew it would hurt. Because I knew it would make him angry. And I knew that an angry man makes mistakes." The room fell silent again. All eyes turned to me. I stepped four-way road. I walked to the podium. I stood next to Reynolds. "The GA Reden was a symbol," I said. "A symbol of peace. A symbol of patience. A symbol of the things that matter in life. And Reynolds destroyed it. He paid H.A. Risen to destroy it. He paid H.A. Risen to humiliate me. He paid H.A. Risen to steal from me." I paused. I looked at the press. I looked at the cameras. "H.A. Risen Cole is not innocent," I said. "He made his own choices. He took the money. He stole the produce. He lied to the neighbors. But Reynolds was the architect. Reynolds was the mastermind. And now he has confessed." I turned to Reynolds. "Do you have anything else to say?" He shook his head. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everything." I stepped back. I walked away from the podium. I did not look at the press. I did not answer their questions. I walked to the door. I opened it. I stepped out. The corridor was empty. The lights were dim. I walked to the elevator. I pressed the button. I waited. Julian Ape read behind me. "That was perfect," he said. "The press is eating it up. Reynolds is going to be indicted. H.A. Risen is going to be questioned. The merger is going to go through. You've won." "Have I?" I said. "Of course you have. You've exposed the conspiracy. You've brought down the rival firm. You've protected the company. You've done everything we asked." "What about the GA Reden?" I said. "What about it? It's still empty. The shoots are still crushed. The ARTH is still BA. Julian was silent for a moment. Then he nodded. "I understand. But you can replant. You can START again. The GA Reden is just a GA Reden." "The GA Reden was more than a GA Reden," I said. The elevator arrived. The doors opened. I stepped inside. Julian did not follow. "I have to go," I said. "Where?" "I don't know yet," I said. "Away. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere where no one knows me. Somewhere where I can think." The doors closed. The elevator descended. I watched the numbers tick down. 10, 9, 8. I was leaving. I was moving on. I was entering a new phase of my life. The doors opened. I walked through the lobby. I walked to my truck. I got in. I root the engine. I did not look back. I drove. The city lights flickered behind me. The road stretched ahead. Empty. Endless. I thought about the GA Reden. The empty EARTH. The broken stems. The shoots that would never grow. I thought about H.A. Risen. His face when he signed the confession. His eyes when he realized he had lost everything. I thought about Megan. Her ambition. Her calculation. Her willingness to sacrifice her father to save herself. I thought about Reynolds. His hollow eyes. His broken voice. His empty confession. I had won. I had exposed the truth. I had held them accountable. I had done everything I set out to do. But the GA Reden was still empty. I drove. The road stretched ahead. I did not know where I was going. I did not know what I would find when I got there. I just drove. The phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "Thank you for giving me the job. I won't let you down. Promise. M.C. I deleted the message. I drove. The road stretched ahead. I drove until the fuel gauge hovered NEA empty, then pulled into a roadside motel with a flickering neon sign. The room was small, the sheets thin, the air heavy with the stale residue of countless strangers. I sat on the edge of the bed and read at the cracked plaster wall. The phone buzzed again. Julian. Reynolds is in custody. H.A. Risen is being questioned. The merger closes at midnight. You're a hero. I turned the phone off. I placed it face down on the nightstand. Outside, the wind picked up. The sign creaked on its hinges. I thought about the G.A. Reden, the B.A.R.E.A.R.T.H., the holes where the tomatoes had been, the crushed shoots that would never grow. I thought about the hours I had spent kneeling in the dirt, my hands caked with soil, my mind quiet for the first time in years. I thought about the satisfaction of watching the first green sprout break through the surface, the small miracle of it, the proof that patience and labor could yield something real. H.A. Risen had taken that. He had uprooted it, smashed it, scattered it across the driveway like G.A. Rebage. And Reynolds had paid him to do it. And Megan had watched. And the neighbors had stood on their porches and judged me for being alone. I had exposed them. I had broken them. I had one. But the G.A. Reden was still empty. I lay back on the bed. The ceiling was stained with water RKS, patterns that looked like maps of countries I had never visited. I closed my eyes. In the morning, I would drive further. I would find a new place, a new patch of EARTH. I would START again. I would build something new. I would be patient. I would be quiet. I would be alone. And I would wait. The G.A. Reden would grow again. It would take time. It would take labor. It would take sacrifice. But it would grow. H.A. Risen would rot in his own guilt. Reynolds would rot in a cell. Megan would rot in her ambition. They would destroy themselves. I did not need to lift a finger. I opened my eyes. The light was gray through the thin curtains. The wind had died down. The sign had stopped creaking. I sat up. I looked at the phone. Still off. Still silent. I stood. I walked to the door. I opened it. I stepped outside. The parking lot was empty. The sky was overcast. The road stretched ahead. A ribbon of gray asphalt to sap a ring into the mist. I did not know where I was going. I did not know what I would find. But I knew one thing. I would not be forgotten. I would not be dismissed. I would not be broken. The man who stole my G.A. Reden would remember me. The man who paid him would remember me. The woman who watched would remember me. And when I returned, I would not return alone. I walked to the truck. I got in. I STA root the engine. I drove. The road stretched ahead. Endless. Empty. Waiting.